Welcome back, quilters, to another episode of Snippets with Patterns by Jen. Today our tutorial is doing a hop pad. So we're going to make a square hop pad, but I will also have in the description below and on the blog, which there will be a link to, measurements for a rectangular hop pad, as I really like a rectangular hop pad as well. So what we need today for our hop pad is an 8-inch square with our main fabric, an 8-inch square of our background fabric, an 8-inch square of our Insul-Bright, and two 8-inch squares of 100% cotton. Now, if you use two squares or not of the cotton batting is totally up to you. That's a personal preference, but I like to have that nice thickness and that protection. Then we're going to put a little hook on there. So we have another strip that is 4 inches by 1 3/4 inches long. One note about these hop pads, you need to have everything 100% cotton. So your fabric, your batting, and your thread all need to be 100% cotton. The Insul-Bright that we are going to use comes in a package like this, and it is specially made for things like hop pads. It does not go in the microwave. So if you are making these as a gift for someone, make sure they know not to put these in a microwave. They will get sparks, possibly a fire. So please make sure to note that they do not do that. All right, so our first step is actually going to be taking our little tag here and pressing, and then taking it over and sewing it and getting it ready to add to our hop pad. So let's go ahead, press this first. Okay, so we have our 4-inch by 1 3/4 inch rectangle. Our first step is going to be folding it in half. We're just going to hit it with a hot iron. Press that for just a second. And now maybe let it cool a little bit. They get really hot. I don't want you to get burned. Give it a little shake. Okay, we're going to open it up and we will take 1/2. We're going to fold it so that our edge then comes into right where that folded crease is. We'll come with our iron, press that again. Okay, let that cool just a minute. Now we're going to do the next side, where we are again going to bring that edge right up to that middle crease, that first fold that we pressed. We're going to come along, hit that with a hot iron. And then we're going to take this, and we have, you see our two pieces, our middle fold, and we're just going to fold this in on itself. And again, hit with that hot iron and let it sit for just a second, just to make sure it gets nice and crisp. All right, and now we'll take this to the machine and just do a quick little top stitch. I actually don't even change the stitch length. I just sew it with what I piece with my length, which is about a 2.0 on my Baby Lock Brilliant. So we'll stitch that, and then we will layer our hop pad and get going. Okay, so we have our nice little piece for our tag. You can, if you want at this point, maybe do a little stitch right here to hold it together, just around there as we pin it, but you don't have to. All right, we're gonna layer next. So we have our main square and our background square. We have our two cotton squares and our Insul-Bright square. Now, one quick note about the Insul-Bright. So you have two sides. It might be hard to see. One side is flat or dull, and the other side is shiny. So it's a little hard to tell when you are looking at it. So just take a minute, I have to go back and forth and see that this is a little more dull here, a little shinier here. So this is important because the shiny side needs to go towards the fabric that is going to be towards the hot. Okay, so we have and for me, my lining, my background is going to be what I will use for my hot, to pick up the hot pan. So I want that shiny side to go towards that lining piece. So let's just imagine it for a minute. So we have our pretty fabric, we have our back fabric. So now when we go and pick up a hot pan, we are going to pick it up with our pretty side. We're going to use our lining or our background to pick up that hot pan because we don't mind if it gets a little dirty or grungy, right? So we're going to want that hot or the shiny side towards that liner to keep that heat resistance there. So now if you follow the way that I have you sandwich this hot pad, that shiny part will be towards your lining or your background, and that will be set up so that you aren't getting burnt when you use your hot pads. So let's lay this out. We're going to actually do, I like to do the batting and Insul-Bright first because there's a lot of layers in this sandwich. So we have first our 1 8-inch batting square. We have our 1 8-inch Insul-Bright square. We want the shiny side facing down. And then we have another 8-inch square. And like I said before, if you don't want to do that many squares of batting, that's totally fine. It's up to you. It's a personal preference. I do think if you're giving it as a gift, it might be better to do all of them to make sure that your giftee is not getting burnt when they are taking hot stuff out. So we have our 3 layers. It's very thick, as you can see. So I'm going to take a few clips, and I just want to clip these together right now, just because there's so much going on, and we still have the main fabric and the background or backing fabric to add as well. So we want, I think, to really get these clipped together so we don't have to worry about slipping. Now batting is going to stretch a little bit as we sew. That's okay. We'll just clip it off a little bit, make sure we straighten it up. It's not a big deal. Okay, next step, we're going to set this aside for a minute. So we're going to take our main fabric now and our little tab that we sewed earlier. We are going to fold it in half, and I like to put this about 1 inch from the inside, from the left side of your main fabric. That's going to make sure we're using a 1/2 inch seam allowance on this, so that 1 inch is going to give us enough space as we are going here. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and pin this in to keep it in, and make sure that you are putting the tab in so that it's actually inside. You don't want it flipping out yet because we're going to sew it and flip this out. We want it facing into your square. Then our next layer is going to be our backing. We're going to just line that up nicely. And then we are going to go ahead and take our sandwich, our batting and Insul-Bright sandwich, and I'm going to now go ahead and clip these together as well. So you can use pins. You do not have to use clips. I just like to have the clips. You don't have to use those, but we're going to clip all of these pieces together. There is a lot going on here, and you just want to make sure that all of your layers are lined up together because there is so much going on with all of these layers. So we'll just go ahead. I'm going to take a minute, pull this one a little bit so we get, I know they were cut correctly, so I just want to make sure we're getting these all lined up nicely. And then we're going to take these to the sewing machine. And when we're there, then I will go ahead and we'll talk about stitching it. We want to do some back stitching, make sure when we are flipping these, our stitches aren't coming out, and how we're going to put this all together. Okay, so I will meet you
sew
over
this together. So my tag is going to be up here. So I want my opening to be down here. So I'm going to throw some pins in here to remind myself to stop sewing and leave myself an opening. And I have my presser foot. I'm using 100% cotton thread. So you want to make sure you are using that. even on the inside of your hot pad, okay? Okay, we're going to sew at a quarter inch seam allowance. And so I like, when I have so many layers, I'm using my walking foot, I like to have the full walking foot on my fabric. So I don't want to use my quarter inch mark on my machine and lose that. So I have my walking foot on here. I'm going to move my needle over to the right to give myself that quarter inch. And then I'll use the edge of my walking foot as my guide for my seam allowance. So we'll go ahead, give ourselves some locking stitches. Now you can, if you don't have a locking stitch, you can go ahead, try and do a back stitch. Sometimes it works with the walking foot, sometimes it doesn't. If you can't get your walking foot to do that, or you don't have a locking stitch, bring your stitch length as low as it will go and take a few little stitches that'll help lock your stitches. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and sew all the way around. Now, cotton batting and batting in general will stretch, and that's okay. You can see it's already stretching here. That's all right. We're going to go ahead and trim it off and straighten this up when we are done. All right, now we have a lot of extra thickness here because this is where our tag is. So go slow. If you do not have a walking foot, this is where you really want to go slowly. All right, I'm coming to my pin to remind myself to stop. Again, if you don't have locking stitch or your back stitch doesn't work, go ahead, bring your stitch length way down, and then just do a couple small stitches, making sure it goes forward a little bit to catch, and then you're good. All right, we're going to go back. We will straighten up our stretched out batting, clip our corners, and flip.
All right, so we have our square all sewn up. All of our layers are together. They look pretty nice. The first thing we're going to do is trim these corners. So you want to do this carefully. Oh, and you can see I have a little bit of an extra. I got it stretched out a little bit, so I'm actually going to go ahead, trim that off now. And then we want to just clip the corners. Make sure that you are not clipping that stitching right there. Just go ahead, clip all of these. Okay, and then the next thing I want you to do, this is going to help reduce the bulk of these. It's going to take a little minute. We'll just do this carefully, but we're going to come in and just trim the Insul-Bright down just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and just come in with your scissors and just do a little trimming. We're not taking a lot, but we're taking off enough to kind of help reduce the bulk that happens because we have so many layers. We have all of the Insul-Bright, but we also have those 2 squares of cotton batting, and we want to just kind of reduce the bulk that we have going on here. So take a minute to do that carefully. Don't want to clip into your stitching. Okay, then our next step is to flip this inside out or right side out, and then we will press. We'll talk about that a little bit and then do our last final top stitching. Okay, so to flip this out, we are just going to open it up where that hole is. And this is why I think it's so important to do those back stitches where we put them, because we're going to really pull on this and pull a lot of layers through here. So having those back stitches there are going to be really helpful on keeping that not closed, but keep those threads from pulling apart as we are pulling and pushing this fabric through. All right, so we'll go ahead, pull it all out, and then you're going to want to get your hand in there and your fingers in there and push out those corners. And to help do that, I do like to use what is called that purple thing. So it's a little just a little plastic tool. I will have an affiliate link in the description down below. And you just take it and kind of push out the fabric and the batting. I'm still not happy with this one, so I'm going to keep working this corner. So when we are done, there we go, done with the corners, we're going to press this up really nicely. This next step is probably one of the most important ones to get a nice finished look on your hot pad, is this pressing. Get a nice crisp edge that we are then going to top stitch down. It's going to look really nice if we get that pressing in there. So let's do that next. Okay, so I have my hot pad and I like to press from the top because I want this part, if it's going to end up being off a little bit, I want it to be where this is rolling over a little bit and kind of covering that back part. So I'm going to press with this on top. We'll go ahead and do the sewn sides first, and just use a really nice hot iron and come through. Just make sure you can kind of come with your fingers, and if you just kind of roll back and forth, you can feel that that gets nice and set, because sometimes it'll be kind of bunched up in there, but if you kind of roll your fingers back and forth, you can kind of feel that this gets nice and set. So we're going to hit that with a hot iron. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing with this, just making sure that these are good. And notice how that tag popped out really nicely. Okay, now the next part, when we're dealing with thick seams like this next part can be a little bit tricky. Not gonna lie, I made a few of these trying to get that part correct. So we're just going to take it slow, okay? What I want you to do to press is ignore the cotton batting and the Insul-Bright. We're just going to press the fabric. So we want to come in, we're going to fold in our seam allowance on our back fabric here. And you can see even with that back stitching, my stitches came out a little bit. So we want to fold our lining so that that seam allowance is about 1/4 of an inch. So I'll see if I can pull this back for you. We want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick on our seam allowance. So we're going to go ahead, come in with a hot iron. Watch your fingers. Please do not burn yourself doing this. Go ahead and give ourselves a nice crisp edge here to work with. So we see got a nice crisp edge there. We're going to do the same with our top fabric. Again, ignoring the batting and the Insul-Bright. We're going to come, and this side's a little bit harder, which is why I had you start with the backing, because when we've sewn this and the way we sewed it so that we could flip it out, the batting is now really wanting to go towards the front. So it makes it a little harder to do this front seam. So we did the back one first, start with the easy one, but we're still just going to make this fabric work for us. Give ourselves that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just go ahead and mess with it a little bit. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and take our hot iron and press. So now, when we come to the machine, we're going to have to fold our Insul-Bright and our cotton batting down a little bit so that we can sew it into our top stitching. So to do that, we are going to go ahead, and you can see how it kind of rolls towards the front. So we're going to go ahead and roll that towards the front a little bit and catch it underneath the top fabric, which I'm having a hard time grabbing. We're going to grab that top fabric. I pressed it really well, I guess. All right, so we're going to fold the cotton batting and the Insul-Bright
down a little bit. We're going to come in and cover it with the main fabric and then bring our background fabric over to catch it as well. Just manipulate that fabric a little bit. You're going to have to play with this with the corners because of the stitching. I'm going to go ahead and fold that in, line that up, and we'll go ahead and clip for right now while we get the rest of this. You can feel that the Insul-Bright is in there and filling that up, kind of like we do with binding, right? We want our binding to be filled up. So we've got that Insul-Bright and cotton batting doing that as well. And we're just going to go ahead and catch that all with our clips. Okay. And we're going to come in.
Once I get to the machine and I'm ready to sew this a little bit, I'm going to fiddle with it a little bit more, and I'll take you over there with me as I do that. But I wanted to give you a base of how we're going to get this set up so that we can do that top stitching, and then we'll take it to the machine, and then as I get to the point where I am stitching this and top stitching this down, I will show you how I manipulate it even more to make sure we get a nice final top stitch look and have our beautiful hop pad. We are almost done with this.
Let's do the top stitching on our hot pad. So I came over to the sewing machine and I fiddled and fiddled and fiddled. So what I ended up doing, and you can see, I don't know, I stretched my fabric somehow, so it's not going to actually end up looking pretty on the back side, I don't think. I'm hoping it will be pretty on the front side. But instead of going back and redoing and trying to, make it look perfect, I'm going to show you what it's going to look like at the end, because really what I want for you to do is have a finished product or project, and practice is going to make this better, right? We aren't looking for perfection. I'm not looking for perfection, and this is not going to be perfect. And I want to show you that. I want to show you that whatever, I try to be honest and show you what is really happening in my sewing studio, and this is what's really happening. Somewhere along the way, I stretched out my fabric while I was doing this, and so I'm going to have some wavy seam down here. But the nice thing is, it's going to be on the bottom, and because here's my taggy, and we're just going to make it work. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch this. I'm going to bring this up to, because I'm having a little issue here, I'm only going to bring my top stitching up to a stitch length of 3. So it'll still be a nicer, longer little stitch, but not necessarily as long as I typically do. And we're going to go ahead, I'm going to get pretty close to my edge because, again, I got something funky going on here. So I'm going to go pretty close to my edge, about 1/8 of an inch or so, and take a few back stitches, do a couple back stitches here to lock this up. And then I'm going to go slowly towards these clips and make this look as good as I can. I don't know. I'm going to have to look at that at some other time. But I'm sure you will see, in the pictures that I share, that this is not going to look perfect. And maybe, actually, what I maybe should have done as well was use some pins. That would have helped keep this closed a little better as well, because I could have sewn a little closer before I had to take the clip out. So I probably should have used pins as well. So there you go. I'm learning a lesson as well, and hopefully you can learn from me. I got a pivot here. Oh, I'm going to take one more stitch, and pivot. And now we're just going to go ahead and go all the way around. Now I am using my walking foot because there are so many layers on this piece, and it's going to just help you, even though I'm not getting it over underneath the whole thing, it is still going to pull on this side and really help get this pulled through evenly as we go. Okay, so we're going to just come to where we were at, take a couple of back stitches to lock our stitching, and we'll check out what we have. So let's trim off our threads. It doesn't look as bad as I thought, so that's good. And we have our pot holder. So let's go get a better look of this at the cutting mat.
And there is our little hot pad. So I hope that you can make a few of these. I know I am going to make a few more, especially that rectangle size. So you'll probably see that in the pictures that I share for this tutorial. And go make a few of these, gift them, keep them, practice with them, use up all that fabric that we keep. I really should make a few flamingo ones because I have enough flamingo fabric probably to make like a whole flock. But go ahead, make a few, share some pictures with me if you like, and I will see you in a couple of weeks for the next Snippets with Patterns by Jen. Go make something you love.